Welcome to this year's edition of the 2020 Alec Wilder Celebration and Concert. We have been doing these events for 35 years now at a variety of New York City iconic venues, including St. Peter's Church for many years, Merkin Hall, more recently 54 Below. And the first of these was actually in 1982, a giant celebration at Carnegie Hall. But this year, we're virtual, we're alive. And so we are coming to an international and national audience. And so a special welcome to those of you who are not in New York, who may not have ever heard one of these concerts in person, and who may be new to the music of Alec Wilder. My name is David Dempsey. I am a member of the board of directors of the Friends of Alec Wilder, and I'm also a co-trustee of the Wilder estate. These are the two entities that are bringing this to you today. So we are very happy to have you all with us. Alec Wilder was truly an American icon. He was unique. His composing was unique, and it spanned the virtual breadth of everything that can be called American music. Although there were uh, other iconic composers, George Gershwin and Leonard Bernstein come to mind, who wrote across styles, nobody wrote with the amazing variety that Alec did, including theater works, chamber operas, orchestral works, pieces for concert band, and a huge variety of sonatas and suites and concertos for every conceivable instrument. Alec wrote often for his friends. He was just as unique as a person as he was as a composer. He lived at New York's Algonquin Hotel for 50 years. That is one giant hotel bill, ladies and gentlemen. He liked to keep two suitcases behind the switchboard at the Algonquin. He was fond of saying that he wanted to be able to leave wherever he was in less than 5 minutes. And a lot of his work was done on trains. He liked to travel on trains, and when he had a project to do for one of his friends, a song to write, a multi-movement piece, which was almost always he was working on one of these, he would get on a train. And if he arrived at a location and was not finished with the project yet, he'd take another train. Sometimes he would stay with friends in his native Rochester, New York. He might have been with Lou and Helen Ozer, or he might have been with a man who ended up being his attorney and who championed his music for many years, Mr. Tom Hampson. He might have been in Bloomington, Indiana with the great tubist Harvey Phillips. He might be anywhere in Chicago. His itinerary really looked like a spider web. He was a real nomad. And we are happy to bring that entire breadth of music to you, or to do our best to do that today. Our first artist is a wonderful singer-songwriter, widely acclaimed, has championed Alec Wilder's music for decades. He has written for the great Nancy Wilson. He has collaborated with Melissa Manchester on several projects. He performed with legendary Anita O'Day. Please welcome Mr. John Prue with a set of iconic songs by Alec Wilder.
Deep is the midnight sea, warm is the fragrant land, sweet sweet are your lips to me, soft as a moon and sand. Oh, when shall we meet again? When the night has left us, will the spell remain? Though waves invade the shore, though we may kiss no more, night is at our command, moon and sand, and the magic of love. The magic of love, and the magic of love. Oh, when shall we meet again? When the night has left us, will the spell remain? Though waves invade the shore, though we may kiss no more, night is at our command, moon and sand, and the magic of love. The magic of love. The magic of love. The magic of love. And the magic of love. Love. We must fulfill our golden time when hearts awake so shyly, softly. Songs were made to sing while we're young. Every day is spring while we're young. none can refuse. Time flies so fast, too dear to lose and too sweet to last. Though it may be just for today, share our love we must while we may. So blue the skies, all sweet surprise shines before our eyes while we're young. Though it may be just for today, share our love we must while we may. So blue the skies, all sweet surprise shines before our eyes, shines before our eyes, shines before our eyes while we're young. Oh, while we're young.
And now we move from the American Popular Songbook of Alec Wilder to the realm of solo instrument works. This trumpeter is really one of our most respected musicians and was at the center of the New York music scene for decades as an American brass quintet member for 18 years. He also was on the faculty at Juilliard, at Manhattan School of Music. He now teaches at the University of Maryland School of Music. Please greet Mr. Chris Gecker, who will bring you selected movements from Alec Wilder's unaccompanied trumpet suites numbers 1 and 2.
very happy to speak about the lucky circumstances that led me to get to know Alec Wilder. It's really because of Bob Levy. In southern Maryland, in St. Mary's County, there existed a Tidewater Music Festival for some years, which Bob was the creator of and the director of. After my sophomore year at the Eastman School of Music, I was working a summer job in my hometown of Alexandria, Virginia. I was working at the Coca-Cola bottling plant. And I'll never forget one evening, well, it was late afternoon, I was coming up to my house. I had a hard hat because I worked under conveyor belts, which were moving crates of empty bottles. And my mom was sitting on the front steps. And she said, a man named Bob Levy called and wants you to call him back. Well, a last minute withdrawal from the trumpet faculty at the Tidewater Music Festival had left an opening, and I had been recommended by Adele Sanchez, who at that time was principal trumpet of the National Symphony. And Bob was calling and gave me a chance. I've felt lucky about that ever since, and very grateful to Bob. From the beginning, I looked at him as a mentor and as a teacher. He always treated me as a colleague and a friend, and I'm very grateful for that. After my second summer at Tidewater, Alec Wilder came for a visit. You have to understand, Bob has such an incredible link with composers. That has been a big part of my career, and I credit Bob and also my other last teacher, Gerard Schwartz, with that inspiration to always collaborate and work with composers. To this day, it's a very important part of what I do. And Bob had an amazing string of composers come to this little music festival in southern Maryland that primarily taught junior high and high school students. We had Aaron Copland, we had David Cope from Ithaca, we had Fisher Tull from Texas, and on, so on. Amazing, great inspiration. And there was Alec, an unforgettable man. And I got to know him. He also treated us all like friends and colleagues. Bob had a connection, as Alec did, with Clark Galehouse of Golden Crest Records up in Long Island. So on 4 separate summers, we drove up after the Tidewater Music Festival was over and recorded LPs at the Golden Crest Studios. Each LP featured an Alec Wilder brass quintet, so we did 4 of them and then filled out the LPs with other music. Sometimes other music by Alec, by the way. Fascinating, an unbelievable experience for me while still in college to be recording commercially with a world-class brass quintet, and it truly was. We had Marty Hackelman on horn, who later with Empire and Canadian, principal of a National Symphony. At that time, he was principal of Vancouver. He also was principal of Montreal at one point. We had Gary Mask on tuba, who at the time was the tubist with the St. Louis Symphony. Lauren Marsteller, and then later Michael Powell on trombone, amazing trombonists. And Bob and I were the trumpets. Incredible learning experience, very enriching. I'll never forget watching Alec listen to playbacks of his own music. I've worked with composers for so many years, and it's always kind of interesting for me as a kind of an interesting side venture to watch them listen to their own music. And Alec was very animated. He would dance, he would smile, he would cover his face with his hands at times. He just reacted in a very visceral way to hearing his own music. An amazing sight. There's one experience that really stood out to me. At one point we were scheduled to play on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., which is about 2 hours away from St. Mary's County. It's not a close, quick drive. And Bob, who had to go up there earlier in the day to help organize our appearance, the brass quintet, asked if I would drive Alec Wilder. So it was quite an experience, that 2-hour drive. We stopped for coffee, talked, I just remember he was just so open about, and this is a person who had worked for Duke Ellington. He worked closely with Frank Sinatra. So many people. It was just an amazing thing, and yet there was not a sense of any sort of grandness about when he spoke. It was just like leaning over a fence with your next door neighbor and chatting about something. And it was funny too. I mean, Alec had a wit and a biting wit at times. I'll never forget, we were somewhere in suburban Maryland as we were edging our way to DC. I drove a little blue Volkswagen, very beat up, not in great shape. And Alec, of course, didn't notice. He was just a delight to be with. But he was telling me stories, and we're standing in line at a McDonald's. I think Bob later on was rolling his eyes when I mentioned I took Alec to get a coffee at McDonald's. And we both laughed about that, of course. And we're standing in line with a bunch of weekend people that collect them. And I remember Alec was telling me a story about Benny Goodman. And in this sort of thunderous voice, he says, and Benny Goodman was such a, and those was the expletive. And I remember all the heads whipping around and looking at us. And this was in the summer too, by the way. And Alec would always wear this sort of trench coat. My mother was at the concert that day in the mall, and she, for years afterwards, would remark on that trench coat that Alec wore on this very warm day. Amazing. And Alec was a letter writer, and I have been too my whole life. And I have a correspondence with him, and I wrote him letters, and every now and then at the dorm at Eastman, and later in my senior year at my apartment, I'd find a letter from Alec Wilder written from someplace. And it really touched me that he took this time to correspond with a young person like me. Very inspirational. I'll never forget my connection with Alec Wilder, and it's a pleasure to play this piece, this second suite for solo trumpet, which Alec wrote for Bob. Bob was a very influential trumpet player to me. His solo performances had a sort of quixotic, improvisatory air, beautifully played. I should mention at the time, my goal was to get in a major symphony orchestra, and I did. I won an audition right after I graduated from Eastman. I decided within a few years not to stay on that path and to venture into other areas of music. But I've always loved playing in major symphonies. But anyway, that was my focus at the time. And you can imagine that playing trumpet in a symphony orchestra leads us to sort of a feeling of, there's so many sort of big moments. And I heard this trumpet player named Bob Levy play in such an intimate, conversational fashion, and it really influenced me. It's influenced me ever since. And I feel that the second suite by Alec Wilder, as brief as it is filled with these sort of conversationally sculpted phrases for trumpet, which showed what he thought of Bob Levy. So it's an honor to play this piece, and I hope you will all enjoy it. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak about Alec Wilder.
Alec Wilder was not only a renowned composer and a renowned songwriter. In terms of popular song, he also wrote the Bible. This is the book American Popular Song, published in 1972, just coming up on its 50th anniversary. And by the way, please watch out for a new edition of that book. In true self-deprecating Wilder fashion, his major omission in this book was himself. There's no mention of his own songs. This new edition will include a special chapter on Mr. Wilder and an update of a number of other things. So we look forward to that coming out in Oxford Press 2022 is the 50th anniversary. So we hope it'll be out before that. And to bring you some of those popular songs, some really classic ones, we have a truly world-class pianist. This gentleman, I've been listening to him for a long time. I'm a jazz musician, saxophonist, as well as classical. And he is one of the founding members of the rather legendary 80s jazz rock fusion group Matrix. And since then, he has been on the scene. He is based in Wisconsin, is a festival director at several music festivals in the Midwest and in Montana. He was a guest on Marion McPartland's heralded piano jazz program on National Public Radio, and he is a widely heard performer in Wisconsin, in Chicago, throughout the Midwest, and here in New York. Not often enough, but he is here with us today to bring you a set of beautiful versions of Alec Wilder tunes. Please welcome Mr. John Harmon on piano.
Hello, I'm John Harmon. I'm honored to be a part of this celebration of Mr. Wilder. Even though I never met him, I think I feel like I know him through my friend Bob Levy, who knew him quite well. In any case, I was privileged to be on this program live several times years ago. And I'm very happy and frankly quite honored to be a part of this year's streaming celebration. So, I got some music from Friends of Alec Wilder, and I'm going to try for the first time a couple of pieces, and maybe a couple that I know. The first piece I'm going to do is one that was not familiar to me. It was written for Marion McPartland, the great jazz pianist, who was a friend of mine, by the way. So I shall put my signature on Inner Circle. Inner Circle. I will try again, a brand new piece for me. It's a ballad, which has some interesting twists. As this last piece, it had a little, very curious tag, if you will, a repeated section that was to be totally improvised, so that those little repetitive things I did were part of the structure that Mr. Wilder put forth. This piece is called Why. Very interesting, and I will play with some embellishment. In any case, Why. Why. So my next thing I would like to try is that sort of lighter side of Mr. Wilder, where he got a little more playful. This particular piece is called Baggage Room Blues. Baggage Room Blues. To me, one of the great pieces that I've had the privilege of learning about and performing, especially with vocalist Janet Planet. We've recorded it a couple of times. It's definitely one of my favorite Wilder pieces. It's called Did You Ever Cross Over to Sneeden's? It has an unusual form, a little different from the standard repertoire. It's more like what could be considered an art song, I think. In any case, did you ever cross over to Sneeden's? So, as a composer, I've been asked to possibly play something for Alec, even though I didn't know the man. I know a great deal about his music, and I certainly subscribe to his attitudes towards his, I guess you could say, disdain for critics and managers and that business aspect of the music industry. So, I would like to with your permission, offer a piece of mine called I Raise My Glass to You, to Mr. Wilder. I raise my glass to you, Alec. Thank you.
You know, at times it feels like I spend more time emceeing various events than I do playing the saxophone or teaching. But in all of those years, I have never had the opportunity to introduce the person you're about to meet. She is a truly world-class flutist. She is the co-director, co-leader of a New York-based multi-flute ensemble called Uptown Flutes with a number of CDs out. She has toured Europe a number of times as a member of the International Flute Orchestra. She is professor of flute and musicology at William Patterson University in New Jersey. And she is my wife of 40 years. So please greet wonderful flutist Karen Dempsey, who will bring you selected movements from Alec Wilder's Suite for Unaccompanied Flute. Karen Dempsey.
Hi, I'm Karen Dempsey, and I'm very pleased and honored to be a part of the Friends of Alec Wilder annual concert. I first attended the Friends of Alec Wilder concert in the mid-1980s, around the time that my husband David recorded Dempsey Plays Wilder. And over the years, I've performed both flute sonatas, the suite for flute and marimba, and of course the suite for unaccompanied flute. I've selected several movements from the 12 movements of the suite for unaccompanied flute. I originally was hoping to do either most or all of the movements, but I am a COVID survivor, I'm happy to say, happy I'm here, but I have the long haul version, which means that long after the virus is inactive, it still affects your breathing and it affects your stamina as well. So rather than say, no, sorry, I can't do this at all, I wanted to perform several of the movements because I love Alec's music so much. And I'm happy to have the chance to do that. So this is the first performing that I've done in 7 months. And I'm glad that this is my coming back, my coming out party. I did not meet Alec Wilder, but I'm very grateful and very privileged to have known many of his closest friends. The list goes on and on and on, those who have passed on and those who are still with us. But I will just name some of our dearest friends, my husband David and I, Lou and Helen Ozer, Zena and Tom Hampson, Manny Album, Joe Wilder, and Mary McPartlin, Lunas McGlowan, And there are many, many more as well. And of course, an entire community of friends who continue with Alec's legacy. I'd love to talk about the suite for a moment. Alec knew Virginia. I'm used to thinking of him in the present tense. Alec knew Virginia Nanzetta very well, was quite taken with her playing. And while she was teaching at St. Mary's College, he wrote this suite for her. She had asked if he would be interested in writing something for unaccompanied flute, and he obliged as well. He wrote this in 1975. Alec wrote only for friends. He did not work on commission. In fact, I'm going to read a quote from an article that I wrote on Alec Wilder's flute music, which was published in the late 1990s. Alec wrote in his autobiographical book, Life Story, "I have made a strict habit of writing concert music for only my friends. They seem to know me so well that they are able to dig out values from the music which strangers never find." I interviewed Virginia Nanzetta in the late 1990s for this article, and she told me about the circumstances of the writing process, which is somewhat unusual. So I'm going to read a quote from that interview. This is Virginia describing Alec's process for writing the suite for unaccompanied flute. "He would send me a couple of movements. I would record them and send them back to him. They were ungrouped. Then he would call me and say, 'Tell me what number this movement is.' And she recalled that, quote, he wanted descriptive words from me about the music to guide future performers. So it was only later that these movements were organized into the suite and published as such. And in fact, sometime later, two additional movements, Movement 13 and Movement 14, were discovered. You'll hear in this suite, in the movements that I am performing today, Alec Wilder's uncanny ability to write an angular yet absolutely lyrical melody. And you'll hear dramatic contrasts in mood from one movement to another. And in fact, that's true through the entire suite. What happens, though, is that you have each movement as a unique entity put together. They result in a cohesive group of pieces. And part of that is because there are intervallic and rhythmic patterns that emerge as you listen through the movements. So again, it's my pleasure, my honor, my privilege to bring these movements to you. And again, my heartfelt thanks for being asked to do this. And I hope you enjoy them as much as I have enjoyed them. Thank you very much.
We will now bring you the vocal bass duo of Donna Byrne and Marshall Wood. These two musicians share the musicianship and focus and sense of pitch that is required when, if you think about it, there's no chordal instrument in this group. So I'm really looking forward to hearing them. Donna Byrne is Boston-based, but has toured and performed worldwide. She has opened for an international tour for Tony Bennett, most recently opened for Mr. Bennett at the Royal Albert Hall in London. Marshall Wood has been Mr. Bennett's bassist since 2009, and I've heard him many times in this role. For those who know the jazz bass, Mr. Wood has a reputation. He is known as a rock and super solid, wonderful player. He has played with Dizzy Gillespie, Clark Terry, Al Cohn, Marion McPartland, and the world of others. This is a wonderful duo bringing you some wonderful, equally wonderful Alec Wilder songs. Please greet Donna Byrne and Marshall Wood.
Hello, friends of Alec Wilder. It's indeed a great privilege and an honor and a great pleasure for my wife, Donna Byrne, and myself to be asked to do 2 songs for this virtual performance. We'd like to start off with a ballad, one that we really love, Blackberry Winter.
Thank you, Marshall. We've been performing Blackberry Winter in concert settings for 5 years, possibly more. And whenever we do, the audience reaction is consistent. People are quite mesmerized and taken by the story of this lost love. Blackberry winter comes without a warning, just when you think that spring's around to stay. So you wake up on a cold, rainy morning and wonder what on earth became of May. Blackberry winter only lasts a few days, just long enough to get you feeling bad when you think of all the love that you wasted on someone whom you never really had. I'll never get over losing you, but I've had to learn that life goes on and the memories grow dim, like some half-forgotten song to Blackberry winter. Reminds me you are gone. Oh, I get so lonely, most of all in springtime. I wish I could enjoy the 1st of May, but I know it means that blackberry winter is not too far away. I'll never get over losing you, but I've had to learn that life goes on and the memories grow dim, like some half-forgotten song till blackberry winter reminds me you are gone. Oh, I get so lonely, most of all in springtime. I wish I could enjoy the 1st of May, but I know it means that blackberry winter is not too far away. Blackberry winter only lasts a few days. Our second and final song tonight is titled The Wrong Blues. And I must confess I was not familiar with this song, but now that I am, I fully intend to perform it once music venues are up and operational again. On behalf of Marshall Wood and myself, Donna Byrne, thank you so much for listening, and please stay safe. I used to hold you, sing you the right blues, always the sweet kind, love in the night blues. Now they're the wrong blues, baby, the wrong blues. Now that you've left me, each night I start out walking a dark street, eating my heart out, singing the wrong blues, baby, the wrong blues. Nowhere do I see one heart for me. There's nothing but gloom in this town since you threw me down. I hit the night spots, never can stay there, 'cause when the band starts, what do they play there? They play the wrong blues, baby, the wrong blues. I used to hold you, sing you the right blues, only the sweet kind, love in the night blues. Now they're the wrong blues, baby, the wrong blues. Now that you've left me, each night I start out walking a dark street, eating my heart out, singing the wrong blues, baby, the wrong blues. Nowhere do I see one heart for me. There's nothing but gloom in this town since you threw me down. I hit the night spots, never can stay there, 'cause when the band starts, what do they play there? They play the wrong blues, baby, the wrong blues. Darling, I need you. How could you drop me? Please, won't you come back? You've got to stop me from singing the wrong blues. Baby, the wrong blues. Baby, the wrong blues. Baby, the wrong blues. Thank you.
One of the longtime proponents and boosters of Alec Wilder and his music was the great tuba player and really human dynamo, Harvey Phillips. That support started when Harvey was the president of New England Conservatory. And at that time, he was the first to publish Alec's music. All of the amazing array of sonatas and suites and concertos, etc., that I had mentioned earlier and that you're hearing today were first published by Harvey. Later, Harvey went on to be the longtime tuba professor at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. And it was there that Alec often visited. And he wrote a huge amount of tuba pieces for solo tuba and also suites and sonatas for every member of Harvey's family. And he also wrote some tuba duets. To play those duets, you're about to meet one of Harvey's wonderful virtuoso tuba students from Indiana University. This gentleman is now on the faculty at Hofstra. He is in the New York area now. He is arts coordinator at the Syosset Music District. He is a freelance New York City tubist, and he has a new CD out called Salt's Tuba that includes the sonata for tuba and piano by Alec Wilder. Please meet, actually you're getting 2 for 1 here, because since this is a digital presentation, this gentleman is playing both of the duet parts. So to do this double image, please meet the great tubist, Mr. Michael Saltzman.
Well, hello, friends of Alec Wilder. My name is Michael Salzman, and I play the tuba, and it's a great honor for me to be with you here today. Let me tell you my Alec Wilder story. I actually never met Mr. Wilder, but I was a student of the late, great Harvey Phillips, the most important person in the history of this instrument. And I was a student at Indiana University in my sophomore year when Alec Wilder passed away. The impact that his death had on his dear friend and my teacher was so powerful to me. It taught me some great lessons. I watched Harvey Phillips work very hard to memorialize his dear friend, to make sure his music was played and that his music was published, and to make sure that there were appropriate tributes, like the annual concerts that celebrated Alec Wilder's birthday every February in New York City. At those first concerts, if you were there, you might remember me. I actually had 2 jobs that I did for Mr. Phillips. One was I was the sound engineer on those concerts. But I think more importantly, I was the person who brought the birthday cake. That was my job, to bring the birthday cake to the birthday celebration. But I remember so well. And later in my life, when people close to me passed away, I tried to learn from that lesson. And I tried to do things that would really help memorialize their lives. For example, when Harvey Phillips passed in 2010, I wrote a lecture recital about him and about his teaching and what it was like to be a student of his. And I actually got to perform and present that lecture recital on many college campuses and at tuba conferences around the country. And it was very important to me. This is actually the second time that I'll play on one of these concerts. Several years ago, I played the Alec Wilder Sonata Number 1 for tuba and piano. And if I may do a shameless plug, I have a new album out. It's a CD of works that are very important to me. Most of them are new works for the tuba. But in memory of Harvey Phillips, I made sure that I recorded a work that was written for him. And so I recorded that sonata, this first tuba and piano sonata by Alec Wilder. Here's my album. It's called Saul's Tuba. And I'm very proud of it. And this is a shameless plug, but if you want to go to my website, Saul's Tuba, that's SALZ Tuba.com, you can learn more about me and more about that recording. All right. But today I'm going to play for you some duets. Now this was tough because of this global pandemic. I have not, let's see, it is now the beginning of October, and I have not had a gig since last March. But this was an at-home gig. So I pulled out these 10 duets for two tubas, and I recorded both of the parts. I recorded 4 of them, numbers 2, 7, 8, and 9. Some of them are really beautiful melodies. Number 8 is a canon in 2 measures that's beautifully written. And I'll tell you just one more quick story about the composition of these duets, because Harvey Phillips told me about it once. Alec Wilder was visiting Harvey's ranch in Bloomington, Indiana, called the Tuba Ranch, and he stayed for about a week, and he was always sketching in a notepad. Always writing. There was always, whenever thoughts came to his mind, he would sketch them down, and write. And when people would ask, what he was working on, he'd say, nothing, just jotting some things down as I think of them. Well, at the end of the visit, he turned over the notebook to Harvey Phillips, and in that notebook were these 10 duets. Never played on a piano, just written as he would walk around the tuba ranch and sketch, and they came out beautifully. So I'll play those 4 for you today. I hope that you enjoy them. I want to thank you again very much for this honor to play for you. And if you are so inclined, saulstuba.com, if you want to look for my recording of the Sonata Number 1 for tuba and piano. Thank you so very much. I hope you enjoy these duets.
Vocalist Susanna B. is an LA-based singer who is a big part of that Los Angeles music scene. She has 4 CDs out, which have appeared on films, on MTV, and have hit the Billboard charts. Her new CD is called Girl Gone Wilder, which is a tribute to Alec Wilder, all Alec Wilder songs. This is an excerpt from one of her recent sets at a Los Angeles club with her working band. I'm really looking forward to hearing this. Please welcome, with her band, vocalist Susanna B.
And now please help us welcome to the stage, celebrating her latest release, Girl Gone Wilder, Miss Susanna B.
Think it's April and November. It's so peaceful in the country. It's so simple and quiet. You really gotta try it. You walk about and talk about the pleasant things in life. It's so restful in the country. It's the right kind of diet. You really gotta try it. In rain or shine, you're feeling fine, and life is sweet and slow. City living is a pretty living. It's so full of unexpected thrills. But there's too much stone, too much telephone. There's too much of everything but trees and hills. It's so peaceful in the country. It's so simple and quiet. We really gotta try it. The only place to be, the place for you and me, where it's peaceful in the country. City living is a pretty living. It's so full of unexpected thrills. But there's too much stone, too much telephone. There's too much of everything but trees and hills. It's so peaceful in the country. It's so simple, quiet. You really gotta try it. The only place to be, the place for you and me, where it's peaceful in the country. It's so peaceful in the country with you. just a brief afternoon. So hold it close, this wonderful time of May. There's so much to reach and touch, so be a child today.
Without a doubt, one of Alec's most well-known and most widely performed songs is I'll Be Around. As he tells it, the title popped into his head when he was in a taxi cab in Baltimore, and he wrote it on the back of an envelope, and he found that title, that crumpled up envelope, while he was at a piano, and it took him about 20 minutes to write it. And since that time, it has been recorded by everybody. The initial recording and the hit recording of that tune was Frank Sinatra. And after that, it was off to the races. And everybody knows this tune. It's the ultimate jazz standard. And that is how we close out every concert. So to bring us a sing-along version, an at-home sing-along version of this tune, and now you can now put on your resume that you performed on an Alec Wilder concert in New York City if you sing along. Please welcome back pianist, singer John Prue with Alec Wilder's I'll Be Around.
I'll be around, no matter how you treat me now. I'll be around from now on. Your latest love can never last, and when it's past, I'll be around when she's gone. Goodbye again. And if you find a love like mine, just now and then, drop a line to say you're feeling fine. And when things go wrong, perhaps you'll see you're meant for me, so I'll be around when she's gone. goodbye again. And if you find a love like mine, just now and then, drop a line to say you're feeling fine. And when things go wrong, perhaps you'll see you're meant for me. So I'll be around when she's gone. I'll be around when she's gone.
That concludes today's concert. But before we leave, I should point out some of the props that I have here in our Alec Wilder broadcast studio today. First of all, two of the books of sheet music that are widely available, published by TRO, the Richmond organization, spearheaded all that effort by the great Judy Bell. Thank you, Judy. These are, you can get them on Amazon, eBay, or in your local music store can order them, collections of Alec's tunes. And over my other shoulder, we have the most recent version of his autobiographical book, Letters I Never Mailed, which purports to be taken from a series of letters that he found in his Algonquin suitcase. And it's written in code. You really don't quite know in the original edition who the letters were sent to. So this new edition retains the original book verbatim, but I decoded it. So it's kind of like doing a crossword puzzle, but knowing that in the back pages, you have the answers to it. So this will be a fascinating book for you, and it'll also test your willpower. Next to that is Desmond Stone's fantastic Alec Wilder biography called Alec Wilder in Spite of Himself. As I mentioned earlier, he had a great propensity to leave himself out of the picture and to blot out his progress. He really disdained the publicity machinery almost to a fault. And this is a great book, Alec Wilder, In Spite of Himself, Desmond Stone. And the farthest to the right, well, I guess farthest for me, right over my shoulder is an Alec Wilder biobibliography that Ron Prather and I did. It's sort of the ultimate Alec Wilder reference for his music, bibliography, recordings, everything. And of course, you also should go to alecwilderlifeandmusic.com online. This is a guide to everything. It'll have today's concert program, along with now all of the concert programs for the entire history of this concert series. There is an Alec Wilder newsletter, and this current Alec Wilder newsletter will be on there for free at no cost to you, as well as all of the Alec Wilder newsletters going back into the 1980s. This is a huge resource, this fantastic website. So the important thing is, the important message to get today through this music, through all the people you've met, is this. Alec lives. Pardon my getting too close to the camera here. But the tune I'll Be Around, Alec will be around, and we'll all be around. So we will see you hopefully next year. Thank you again so much for coming to this celebration of the music and life of Alec Wilder. Thank you.